So I think it's consistent with the incremental investment in defense policy by the Japanese government over the past 3 decades. Last year, the new national defense or national security strategy, which was released, talked about specifically of doubling defense spending up to 2027. And at the same time, staying wedded to Japan's pacifist constitution, defense-oriented policy, and I think importantly, eschewing the efforts to acquire a nuclear weapon or a nuclear deterrence. So in that sense, Japan, rather than moving away from its pacifist constitution, it's trying to be a reliable partner to countries that have shared values and shared security concerns in the Indo-Pacific region.
Yeah. Are these sort of regional tensions that have developed around Japan, around China, what's driving these decisions?
Of course. I think we have weapons proliferation on the Korean Peninsula, with North Korea launching missiles over Japan in its efforts to test ICBMs. We have gray zone and hybrid tactics by China in and around the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea. And of course, it's belligerence across the Taiwan Strait. And more we have tensions in the South China Sea associated with the Philippines. And I think many analysts, such as myself, see the Philippines and the tensions between the Philippines and China really as a potential spark point that could cascade into a regional conflict.
How do you see Japan managing, to your point, those tensions of increasing its defence capability, but always on really on a defensive rather than an aggressive footing?
Well, when you speak to policymakers in Japan, they continue to say, we cannot move our neighbor, right? China's going to be there in the next 1,000 years, 2,000 years. So they have to find ways to live with China. And they're doing that through an engagement policy. So they engage it through the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and other trade agreements. While at the same time, they're building a strong deterrence and defense capabilities with the United States, with Australia, where you're sitting, with the UK, and now through this efforts to export jet fighters through international partnerships to help build the capabilities of other countries so they can defend themselves. So it's a multi-layered process. It certainly isn't a zero-sum approach to China and North Korea and Russia. And it's about building stability and peace in the region so that the Indo-Pacific region continues to be an area of prosperity, growth, and opportunity for all countries within the region.
Is it important, too, for Japan to be a sort of reliable alliance partner, if you want, as well?
Absolutely. And I think this is where Japan really has a lot of political capital to spend. Of course, it's the only alliance partner for the United States. It's based in the region. It has huge capabilities, 8 decades long of cooperation with the United States. But Japan is seen as this modern country that has been able to build a modern democracy, relative freedom of press, and it has strong diplomatic relations with Southeast Asia, South Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, where I'm from, and Europe. And it's seen as a really critical actor to provide public goods, whether it's infrastructure connectivity or defense equipment, to help countries deal with the security challenges. And I think Japan's track records of not using military force over the past 80 years makes it, it gives it political credibility that it is really a defense-oriented state that is wedded to its pacifist constitution, but also very deeply interested in helping other countries deal with their defense challenges.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, Australia spoke to the Japanese at one point regarding submarines. It's economically, I'd imagine, beneficial too. How well supported are these changes within the Japanese population?
I think they're not understood well. The Japanese government and industry tends to lead on these decisions. And what we'll see in Japan is probably a division. Those that are really wedded to the pacifist constitution, which I think is broadly across the spectrum in Japan, will say that this is moving away from the pacifist constitution. Those on the conservative right will say, no, we're within the context of the pacifist constitution, but we want to help our allies and partners within the region deal with the security challenges. So there'll be a division, and there'll be the politicization of the change as what we often see in every democratic society. But I think by and large, the Japanese population have really shifted their views on security challenges. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia fundamentally changed I think the perspective of ordinary Japanese that war is a possibility. And as Prime Minister Kishida said at the Shangri-La Dialogue in 2022, today's Ukraine could be tomorrow's East Asia. And I think that mindset is now deeply embedded in the Japanese population, accounting for more robust support for defense spending and this new national security strategy, and likely for helping allies through the export of jet fighters to help deal with their security challenges.
Yeah, it's sort of its time, really. Stephen, always good to get your analysis. Great to talk. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We'll see you again.